بسم الله الحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله وعلى آله وصحبه ومن والاه وبعد. Welcome back after 1 week break for Eid al-Adha. And I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to accept from all of us our good deeds. And just as a reminder, we're still in the Al-Ashhur al-Hurum, the sacred months, which is 4 months. And Dhul Hijjah, that's the month of Dhul Hijjah that we are in right now, and the next one, which is Muharram, are part of it. And these 2 months are sacred months, very important months. And in Nabi Sallallahu, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala made them as one of the sign of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's rules must be honored during these months. And Ibn Abbas radiallahu anha and others said that during these months the rewards are multiplied and the sin is also greater than any sin outside these months. To the extent that it was reported, Ibn Abbas said, the sin is 100 times double if it's committed during this month. So I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to help us to continue to do good and to help us to abstain from the haram. Allahumma ameen. The hadith of today, hadith Abu Hurairah radiallahu anhu wa arda, and it's famous hadith, قال من حسن إسلام المرء تركه ما لا يعنيه. That the Abu Hurairah radiallahu anhu narrated that the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said, a sign of man's good observance of Islam, his piety, or that person's piety, is to keep away from that which does not concern him. To keep away from that which does not concern him. This hadith reported by At-Tirmidhi, who graded it as hadith Hasan. As you see, this hadith is very relevant to the concept of minimalism and az-zuhd, because we've been saying this over and over again, and I hope by now you guys memorize it. Az-zuhd huwa tarku ma la yanfa'u fil akhirah. It's to avoid what will not benefit you in the akhirah. And al-wara' is to leave what can harm you in the akhirah. Wal-wara' tarku ma qad yadurru fil akhirah. So if his zuhd is about abstaining and staying away from what will not benefit you in the akhirah, definitely abstaining and staying away from which does not concern you is part of his zuhd. Because if it's not going to benefit you in this life or the hereafter, that's something you should avoid and you should abstain from it. And that hadith shows you also that the level of zuhd is a high level of iman. The person who practiced this, min husni Islam, among the sign of good piety, or a sign of man's good observance of the religion. This hadith reported by Tirmidhi, but the copy that we have from Tirmidhi, it does not really say that Tirmidhi said it is Hasan. It says that the Tirmidhi said this is gharib. It hadith gharib. And that's exactly how Ibn Rajab rahimahullah in his explanation of 40 hadith al-Nawawi, he said At-Tirmidhi said it's gharib. And also there is a great Imam, his name Yusuf ibn Abdul Rahman al-Mizzi, famous scholar of hadith before Ibn Hajar rahimahullah. Also when he reported this hadith, he said that At-Tirmidhi said it's gharib. So it's kind of strange, or gharib, that Ibn Hajar here said, At-Tirmidhi said it is Hasan. Because this hadith more closer to be a gharib than Hasan. But in any case, al-hadith reported also by Ibn Majah, but the isnad of Ibn Majah is weak, has Qurrah ibn Abdul Rahman, and he's munkar al-hadith, his hadith is rejected, as Imam Ahmad and Abu Zur'a. And al-hadith also was narrated mursal. Mursal, it means the successor say, the Prophet ﷺ said. So when the successor say, the Prophet ﷺ said, we know that the successor never met the Prophet ﷺ. So you might say, Shaykh, what's the problem? Because what is between the successor and the Prophet ﷺ? A companion. And all the companions are trustworthy. So what's the problem with mursal hadith? It should be acceptable. Because it doesn't matter not knowing who is the companion is. Yeah, that's true. But the problem is that many of the tabi'een, of the successors, narrate a hadith from another successors, then from the companions. Or sometimes a successor from a successor, from a successor, tabi' from tabi', from tabi', then the Prophet. What would you do in this case? That's why the ulama rahimahullah said, if there is one tabi'i, one successor, known that he only narrate from the Sahaba, his mursal is acceptable. In any case, Imam Malik rahimahullah reported this hadith mursal from Imam al-Zuhri rahimahullah, and it came with asanid, many different narrations. And by the way, when we find many narrations mursals, they help, we know that this has a base, especially if these are very trustworthy tabi'een. Without going into details, al-ulama rahimahullah consider this hadith as acceptable and يعني في عداد الحسن, sound. What do we learn from this hadith? هذا الحديث some of the ulama consider it 1/4 of Islam. جعلوه رابع حديث في الإسلام. They said that Islam is based on 4 ahadith. And this is one of them. And among those who said that, Imam Abu Dawud al-Sijistani rahimahullah. Ibn Hajar al-Haytami said, بل هو نصف الإسلام بل هو الإسلام كله. Ibn Hajar al-Haytami, not Ibn Hajar, the one who wrote this, another man, his name Ibn Hajar al-Haytami, a Shafi'i scholar, said, he said, this is not 1/4, it is half of the religion, and you can say even it is the religion, all of the religion, you can understand it from this hadith. Because if you leave what is not concern of you, that means you will focus on what is concern you. What's concern you is what? Is worshipping Allah and following the rules and doing the right thing. And what should not concern you is the haram and the kufr and shirk. So in another word, this hadith really very comprehensive. You can understand the whole entire religion through this hadith. What are the 4 ahadith that Abu Dawud and others were referring to? 1, من كان يؤمن بالله واليوم الآخر فليقل خيرا أو ليصمت. Also hadith Abu Hurairah, whoever believes in Allah and the day of judgment should say good or remain silent. Whoever believes in Allah and the day of judgment should be good to his neighbor. Whoever believes in Allah and the day of judgment should be good to his guest, reported by Bukhari Muslim. The second hadith, hadith Abu Hurairah as well, من حسن إسلام المرء تركه ما لا يعنيه, this hadith that we have. Then the third one, قول النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم لا تغضب, don't be angry, and also the hadith in al-Bukhari and reported by Abu Hurairah رضي الله عنه وأرضاه. And the fourth one, hadith Abu Hamza, or hadith Abi Hamza, Anas ibn Malik رضي الله عنه, that the Prophet صلى الله عليه وسلم said, لا يؤمن أحدكم حتى يحب لأخيه ما يحب لنفسه. You will not be a true believer until you love for your brother what you love for yourself. And this hadith reported by Bukhari Muslim. And it looks like Abu Dawud and others were talking about the ahadith that talking about mannerism. All the ahadith of mannerism goes back to these 4. These 4, if you apply them, you will cover this whole entire area and chapter in Islam. Ibn Rajab rahimahullah ta'ala, this hadith that we have today, أصل من أصول الآداب. This hadith is one of the most important principles when it comes to etiquettes and dealing with others. That's what Ibn Rajab rahimahullah said. And there is a great scholar by the name of Hamza al-Kinani who said this hadith is 1/3 of Islam. Ibn Abd al-Barr rahimahullah said, وهذا الكلام الجامع للمعاني الكثيرة. This hadith is a very short hadith, few words, but under these words, great deal of meanings and guidance, and it never were heard before the Prophet ﷺ. Yani this advice never were heard in that culture before the Prophet ﷺ. And Imām al-San'ani rahimahullah in Subul al-Salam, in explanation of Bulugh al-Maram, he said something interesting. He said this hadith, you should realize that this hadith covers al-aqwal wal-af'al. Yani covers statements. You should not say, talk about things that doesn't concern you, nor you should act. I'll give you an example of acting. Yani sometimes you are driving the road, and this is something bothers me a lot when I drive, and like in the other side of the street, there is accident or something like that, or there is an accident, people taking already the police and the fire truck there, and everybody slowing down and checking it out, and taking a picture or posting about it. Yeah, it's not your business. Just keep going. Or you stop the car and you go watch. You need to keep moving. If your help is not needed, there is already help. There is already attended by people who are taken care of. You should keep moving. That's not of your concern. So sometimes it's by actions or by a statement. San'ani rahimahullah said this hadith basically cover both. What do we learn? What's the principles that we learn from this hadith? Number one, الإيمان مراتب ليس على درجة واحدة وأن الناس يتفاوتون في الإسلام والإيمان. That al-Iman or Islam, not one level, multiple levels. That's why Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam said among the sign of good Islam, good observance of Islam. So that means there is people have their Islam is level, their Iman, their faith is level, some higher than others. Some of them are good, some of them are okay, some of them are bad. So this hadith shows you that people are in various level. Another benefit from this hadith shows that Islam cares so much about manners, good manners, and cares so much about good conduct. And Islam cares so much about Muslims to be well mannered. And that's something Islam puts so much emphasis on it. The hadith in Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, al-Imanu bid'un wa sab'una shu'ba. Al-Iman is 70 plus branches. 1/3 of these branches, focus on conduct, focus on the manner and the etiquettes of dealing with one another, if it's not more. Good manners are your beauty, as been said that Ali radiallahu anh said. And no doubt, Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said, قال خياركم أحسنكم أو أقربكم مجلسا من يوم القيامة أحاسنكم أخلاقا. The closest to me in the day of judgment, and the best among you in another word as well, will be those who possess the best of manners. The better manners you have, the closer you are to the Prophet ﷺ, the higher you are in Jannah, the heavier your skill on the day of judgment. As the Prophet ﷺ said, he said ﷺ, أثقل شيء في الميزان قال حسن الخلق. One of the heaviest things in your skill on the day of judgment is حسن الخلق. And Nabi ﷺ said, أكثر ما يدخل الناس الجنة. The thing that will lead many people or most of the people to enter Jannah, two things he mentioned. One of them was حسن الخلق, good manners. So in Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam saying that the better manner you have, the better Islam that you will eventually, or you will have, or Iman you will have. So من حسن إسلام المرء, among the sign of good observance of Islam, good practice of Islam, the good Islam and good Iman, good faith that you have good manners. And one of it is to leave which is not of concern to you. This hadith, obviously very straightforward, one of the benefit, that you should not care about the thing that it is not of your concern. In other words, it will not benefit you in this dunya or in the hereafter. Oh my God, this is just unbelievable. The culture that we're living today in is all about concerning about things that doesn't benefit you in the dunya or the akhirah. Just think about it. What's TikTok is all about. What's Instagram is about. Most of the things in Facebook, Snapchat, and social media. You know, even news, magazines, people. It's all about things, basically celebrities. It's all about the things that is, what is your concern? Oh, what did he eat? What did she wear? What they were? What designer is the, like, all about things like this. He got divorced. He got embraced. It just, there is a whole billions of dollars of business is based on that. The opposite of this hadith. There's people knows everything about athletes, basketball players, what he eats, what underwear he wear, what socks that he use, you know, everything. What's your concern of that? You might ask, so what's the problem, Shaykh, with knowing all this? The problem is when you occupied your mind and your time, you have a limited time and you have a limited capacity, no matter how big it is. If you keep filling it up of things that doesn't benefit you, when you will have time to fill it up with things that will benefit you? When you will have time to spend on the thing that benefit you? That's why you will not find someone who's successful in their dunya and deen care about these things. These things of, you know, the mediocres and the, sorry for the lack of a better word, for the losers. That's what they care for. This hadith also gives us the indication, if the Prophet ﷺ asked us not to worry about the thing which is not of concern to us, that hadith also indicates that we should care about the thing that will benefit us. So as we don't care about the thing that it doesn't benefit us, we should care about the thing that will benefit us. يعني بالمفهوم أن الإنسان يهتم ويحرص على ما ينفعه in the dunya or in the akhirah, in this worldly life or next, in things related to religion or things related to world and skills. And that's very important, that you focus on the thing that basically of concern to you or benefit you. And by the way, this is a disease. Those who focus on things that's not beneficial, it's a disease. And it's one of the trick of the shaitan to block us from seeing what will benefit us, to be distracted with things that will not benefit us. There is people who spend hours in research searching what type of dog was with the young men who stayed in the cave. That the Surah Al-Kahf, the story of the cave, and the young men who basically went to the cave and stayed there, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala let them stay there for so many years, and He resurrected them. Allah said, with them there were a dog. What kind of dog? You know, what type of dog? What the color of the dog? What it was called? Who cares? Who cares what kind of dog is it? You know? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, Dusur, about the ark of Noah. How many nails were there? Were screwed or just nailed in? Were made of iron, stainless steel, copper? Who cares? When people will start focusing on things like this, that it's not of their concern. Sheikh, I said yes. He said, if I pray above the Kaaba, where should I face? I said, Habibi, you didn't even go to the Kaaba yet. You didn't make Umrah or Hajj. You didn't see the Kaaba in your own eyes. Shaykh, if I go to the space, all these kind of things where people imagine things that is not real, and that's also in some of the fuqaha, it's not fuqaha, some people who related to the fiqh came up with things that's impossible and focus on spending time on it. This is waste of time and waste of energy and waste of knowledge. So it can be in the religion as well. That's why Imam Ahmad rahimahullah once was walking out of the masjid. So somebody stopped him and he said, Ya Imam, Ya'juj wa Ma'juj, are they Muslims or not? Are they supposed to be giving da'wah or not? As if the brother, mashallah, planning to give them da'wah, Ya'juj wa Ma'juj. Isa will run away from them, and Al-Mahdi and all the believers. Then Imam Ahmad looked at him and he said, son, what do you say when you leave the masjid? And he said, I don't know. He said, what's the sunnah to say when you enter the masjid? He said, I don't know. قال عن مثل هذا فاسأل. Ask about things like this. What will benefit you? I was teaching once in California, and never forget that. I was teaching a book by Shaykh Waleed Basyouni rahimahullah about Allah's names and attributes. Man, and I had this brother in front of me, was focused kida, and I give him looking at me, but I can tell in his eyes that he's somewhere else. So when the questions came, and he raised his hand, he said, Shaykh, I said, yes, go ahead. And he said, Shaykh, if we imagine an Islamic state started, who would you appointed as interior minister and the State Department? Who would run that? Who's the Secretary of State? Who you think should be the Defense Ministry? What about Sheikh Salman? What about this? I was like, what? Where are you? Which world are you living in? You know, also people tell me, Sheikh, did you hear what Sheikh so-and-so said? No, I don't. I don't care. It's not something of my concern. Sheikh, do you know the latest, statement of Sheikh and Da'iyah, scholar so-and-so? I don't know what he said. I don't care what he says. It's not my concern. He doesn't live here. He is not part of my community. I don't. Sheikh, did you know what someone said this and said that? And there is people, all what they do is looking after the mistake of that person, the statement of that person, and all what they do is focus on that. That's not of my concern. My concern, what will improve my deen, my akhirah, and the people of around me. Yes, if it's something that of concern to our community, to defend our community, yes, I will take care of it. Also, one of the things that is so common in personal matters, where people, don't mind their own business, something so nosy. Sometimes you give somebody's nose back and you said, please take your nose back. I found it in my business. It's just so nosy. Hey, mashallah, is your wife pregnant? You guys been married for 2 months. What, you're my sex therapist now and you're gonna check her out, or you're my family planner? It's just weird. Women, a sister asking a sister, how's your relationship, your sexual relationship with your husband? Unbelievable. I'm not making this up. And I'm not saying things that is rarely happen. No. That happened a lot, unfortunately. MashaAllah, you work in this company? Yes. How much you make? It's not your business. Salaam alaikum. Hello? Yes. Where are you? What? You're my wife? Where are you? It's not your business where I am. Who's that person next to you? Excuse me? See, people ask how much you make. If this is something important, you can politely, hey, I know it's personal, if you feel comfortable to tell me that. But this became so, people involve themselves with other people's personal life. And there is people so much, a neighbor brings something, oh, what did he get? Oh, what kind of thing, what kind of car, what kind of washing machine is this? What kind of dishwasher that you have? All these kind of things that people involve themselves in it for no reason but just being nosy. And it is really annoying. And it wastes time, and it shows weakness of Iman. So if one of the things that shows that your Iman is not perfect and is not strong, is that you always care about things that doesn't benefit you. It is sad when I see the youth among us, all what they care about, things that will not benefit them in the akhir. All what they care about, this athletic, what's, this basketball players or baseball player or, all what they care about, what they do, what is the latest things they do. And they themselves sometimes not even athletes. And I'm not talking about caring about games or, no, I don't have a problem with that. But I have a problem when this is all what you know, all what you focus, or most of your focus, or you know so much about it. The games and the actors and the movies and all this stuff. And you look at this person, what do you know about Allah? What do you know about the Quran? What do you know about the Prophet ﷺ? What do you know about the Sahaba? Nothing. It is sad. And that's something we have to change. We have to be honest with ourselves. Because if you perfect your Islam, and I mean by perfect, you have a good Islam, strong Islam. Man hasuna Islam, those who their Islam is good and excellent. The reward start from 700. Everybody else start from 10 and up. They start from 700 and up. Whoever follow this hadith will talk little, will watch what they say. Because if it's not something of my concern, why would I talk about it? Do you know what happened between her and her husband? No, it's not my concern. Not my business. You will end gossip. You will end backbite. قال عمر بن العزيز من عد كلامه من عمله قل كلامه إلا فيما يعنيه. If you compare if you make your statements and your talk go along with your actions. Yani you talk about things that it will lead to action, you'll find yourself speak little. You not speak too much. Or we will only speak about the thing that will lead to actions. Speak about things of concern, things that will benefit you. And it was said, من اشتغل بما لا يعنيه فاته ما يعنيه. If you focus on the thing that it doesn't concern you, you will miss the thing that it will concern you and benefit you. ومن لم يستغني بما يكفيه فليس في الدنيا شيء يغنيه. And if you're not content and satisfied in this life with what you have, nothing from what you don't have will ever satisfy you. I'll say that again. If you're not happy and content with what you have, nothing from what you don't have will ever make you satisfied. You need to learn how to be happy and satisfied with what you have first. And this hadith teaches us that we should concern about what we have. And we should not be concerned about what we don't have. The concern of things that doesn't concern us. Care about the thing that it does not, which is not of concern to us. Because focus on these things will make you not focus on what the thing that is beneficial for you. Minding your own business, by the way, doesn't mean not caring about others. That's not the point of the hadith. We should care about others. But there is a difference between caring about others and basically concerning about, business, people's business and private life. How many minutes we left for Adhan Maghrib, Abdullah? 5. قال النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم. We will end here. Next hadith, inshallah, we'll take it next week. The next hadith is interesting. We have only 2 hadith left, I believe, or no, 3. Yeah, 3 hadiths left. One about controlling your tongue, about remaining silent. One about tawbah. And the next hadith, which is next week, inshallah, talk about food and eating. So we'll end here, inshallah ta'ala. And if we have questions from the crowd, we'll take it. Kahari, do we have any questions from the online? Okay, just 1 second. Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. To those who are giving you Shah, Nol, Warda, Haydar, Nashiya. Jazakallah khair, Nancy. My problem is that when I am asked things that are not someone's business and or personal, I find it hard not to answer truthfully or avoid being rude by my silence. If somebody asks you something about your private life and you don't feel comfortable to answer, just be simple, be straightforward. I think we need to teach people manners too. You don't need to be rude. You can, with a smile, say, I like to keep that personal. I like to, I don't like to talk about this with people. I think that's my personal business. Just give it straightforward to them. I don't think it's, it's like somebody that they ask me questions about something about like my kids and my life. And I'm not saying, and it's normal for us, mashallah, how many kids you have. I don't think that's like people's business, people getting into your business. That's being friendly, okay? But somebody, for example, mashallah, you have them right like after another, almost less than a year, okay? What's your business? I got them a year apart or 2 years apart or 9 months apart. What's your business? You're not my family planner,
What if somebody asking you about marrying somebody? Like, oh, I know you go to Clear Lake. What about this guy right here? Are you allowed to? Is that giving someone's business? You know what I mean? Like someone asks you something like that.
Like for example, Muhammad we're looking for marriage. You say, hey, did you get married or not? Or like, do you want to get married?
Like, if somebody contacts me, like someone contacts me and say, this brother over here, right? I want to get to know him. What about him? Do you know him?
Oh, if somebody asking me about someone, say, Abdullah want to get married. What do you think of Abdullah? Yeah, I'll say, just stay as far as you can. Abdullah has a magical touch. So unless you 100% want to marry Abdullah to your sister, stay away, because just one time you meet the guy, he'll just take over your heart. I twisted for you, Abdullah, don't worry. So anyway, so I can be honest and tell them, yeah, but that's fine. But I'm talking about the same people can ask you a question. I think you should tell them. By the way, it's not easy to stay away from the thing that it doesn't concern you. Imam Ahmad rahimahullah said once, قال لا أذكر إلا مرة. I only remember one time I talked about something which is not of concern to me. Guess what that thing was? قال Imam Ahmad قال أذكر مرة تكلمت عما لا يعنيني. You know what it was? They told him about a masjid was built in Baghdad in a very unique structure. قيل عن مسجد بني بناء عجيب في بغداد. فقال بأي حجر بني. هذه المرة اللي جعلها يتكلم فيما لا يعني. He said to Imam Ahmad, what kind of stones did they use? I never regret, he still remember this from years, that I ask about what kind of stones. What's my business, what kind of stones? It's just not beneficial information for me. La ilaha illallah. So if you compare this to us, that's a big difference. That's why مورق العجل يقول شيء أنا في طلبه منذ 20 سنة لم أدرك ولست بتارك. From 20 years I've been seeking this. I did not control, I have no control over it, but I'm not willing to give up yet. They said what it is? قال أن ألا أسأل عما لا يعنيني. Is to stay away from things which is not of concern to me. It's very hard, by the way. But this hadith, I hope it will remind us to focus on the thing that will remind. And by the way, one of the things is, I think if we just can focus on social media and work our way through that, you will find this hadith will make so much time and space in your daily schedule unbelievable. That's why Ibn Rajab rahimahullah said, this hadith أصل في حفظ الوقت, is a fundamental hadith when it comes to the issue of managing time properly. Because most of our time get wasted or things that's not beneficial for us. And if you should not care about what will not benefit you, you should not do what will not concern of you, and you should not, spend money on the thing which is not of concern to you or benefit you. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala help all of us, and thank you guys for being online. And Andy, we have Andy and many other people too. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Just before you start, Abdullah, I forgot to say something to everybody out there, that my prayers and my condolence for the people of Lebanon for that great disaster, like huge disaster and great disasters that they going through these days. And I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to make it easy for that country and to bring them together and to make the outcome of it better for everyone. Allahumma ameen.